She thought her best friend was living the dream. A rich husband, luxury cars, a perfect home, until envy made her take her place. And she discovered too late the deep secret her friend had been hiding all along. Kayamika and Neoma grew up the way only true childhood friends do, sharing one life between two bodies. They lived in the same noisy compound in Surulere, Lagos, running barefoot between buckets of water and plaiting each other's hair on Saturday mornings. Kayamika was the calm one, gentle, patient, always thinking before she spoke. Neoma was fire, loud, dramatic, full of dreams bigger than the street they grew up on. She always wanted more, always chased the spotlight, always imagined a richer future. But no matter how different they were, they moved together like sisters. If you saw Neoma, Kayamika wasn't far behind. If Kayamika cried, Neoma picked the fight for her. If Neoma failed a test, Kayamika stayed up all night helping her study. Their mothers would smile and say, "These two." They were born in different houses, but raised by one heart. Growing up didn't change that. They whispered their dreams to each other under the ceiling fan at night. Kayamika wanted a simple life, a small business, a peaceful home, a man who loved her sincerely. Neoma wanted everything. Big house, expensive cars, a rich husband, trips outside Nigeria. But still, they held on to each other tightly. By their final year in university, Kayamika had started catering small events to support herself. That was how she met Chidi, a handsome, well-dressed young businessman who came to one of her corporate deliveries. He complimented her food, then her smile, then her kindness, and before Kayamika could understand what was happening, she was falling in love with him. Chidi was everything she had prayed for. Calm, respectful, generous, focused. He would bring her lunch unexpectedly, help her carry trays to events, even wait for her after class so she wouldn't walk home alone. Kayamika couldn't believe God had sent her such a man. When she introduced him to Neoma, Neoma hugged her excitedly. Finally, our own Kayamika has found love. And in those early days, Neoma meant it. She was happy for her friend. She had no reason to envy, no reason to feel left behind. But when Chidi proposed months after their graduation, Neoma felt something she didn't want to name. A small pinch in her chest, a quiet whisper. Chidi gave Kayamika the proposal most girls dreamed about. A candlelight dinner in Victoria Island, roses covering the table, and a silver ring that sparkled like morning sun on water. Their wedding became the talk of Lagos. Elegant, classy, overflowing with love. Kayamika wore a gown that looked like it came straight from a bridal magazine. Chidi stood tall beside her, smiling proudly. The hall glittered, the air smelled of orchids, and guests whispered, "Kayamika has entered enjoyment. This is marriage." Neoma stood beside her as maid of honor, smiling brightly for pictures. But somewhere deep inside her chest, something tightened. Not hatred, just a quiet longing she tried to ignore. After the wedding, Kayamika moved into Chidi's Lekki mansion. A white duplex with large windows, polished floors, and luxury cars lined up like trophies. When Neoma visited for the first time, she was stunned. Kayamika had truly stepped into a world she used to pray about. A world Neoma herself always dreamed of. Kayamika welcomed her with a bright smile. She showed her the living room, the kitchen, the walk-in closet filled with lace, gold jewelry, and perfumes from abroad. Inside, Neoma felt something warm and bitter rising. This should have been my life. But she swallowed it down and hugged her friend tightly because, at this point, her envy was still small, still soft, still pretending to be admiration. At first, Kayamika truly believed her marriage would be everything she dreamed of, peaceful, loving, and blessed. Chidi treated her gently, opened doors for her, bought her small gifts just to see her smile. But slowly, quietly, the cracks began to show. It started with the nights he didn't come home. Kayamika would sit in the living room waiting, her dinner growing cold, her eyes drifting to the clock as the hours passed. When Chidi finally returned at 2 or 3 a.m., he smelled of alcohol and sometimes of another woman's perfume. When she asked softly, "Chidi, where were you?" he would glare at her like she had insulted him. One night, her voice trembled as she said, "You didn't pick my calls." The slap came so suddenly that she didn't even feel the pain at first. Her ears rang. Her vision blurred. She froze, staring at him with fear. Chitty's anger vanished instantly. He grabbed her face gently. "Kayamika, I'm sorry. You provoked me. You know I hate nagging." He kissed her forehead. And the next morning, he handed her a brand new iPhone and a handbag worth more than her rent before marriage. That became the rhythm of her marriage. He hits, he apologizes, he buys gifts, she forgives, he hits again. The more violent he became, the more expensive his gifts grew. As if he believed money could erase fear. Kayamika wanted to tell someone, her mother, her sister, even Neoma. But each time, shame gripped her throat like a hand. People admired her marriage. They envied her life. They called her lucky. How could she admit that the man who bought her diamonds also left bruises on her ribs? So, she learned to hide everything. She mastered the art of makeup. Concealer for her cheek, powder for her jawline, long sleeves for her arms. She smiled through pain and posted happy pictures online, pretending everything was perfect. And everyone believed her. Especially Neoma. Each time Neoma visited, she admired the house as if it were a museum of luxury. The chandeliers, the white marble floors, the fresh flowers, the imported perfume Kayamika kept on her dressing table. Chitty would greet Neoma warmly. "Ah, Neoma, you're welcome. Hope traffic wasn't too bad." She would blush and laugh. "Thank you, sir." Kayamika sat there smiling, hiding the swelling on her palm, where Chitty had squeezed too hard the night before. Neoma's admiration slowly turned into longing. She would lie awake at night thinking, "Kayamika has everything. A mansion, cars, money, and a man who pampers her. If I had a husband like Chitty, I would never complain. I would worship him." She didn't know the truth. Kayamika never let her see it. So when Neoma compared her own life, the small apartment, the unreliable boyfriends, the constant hustle, envy began to grow like a weed in her heart. At first, she suppressed it. She told herself, "It's just admiration." But admiration turned into desire. Desire turned into fantasy. Fantasy turned into bitterness. She began to think Kayamika didn't deserve what she had. She takes it for granted, Neoma whispered to herself one night. "If that man were mine, I would treat him like gold." Neoma became more deliberate. She started dressing elegantly whenever she visited. Fitted dresses, subtle perfume, jewelry that glittered under the lights. She laughed gaily around Chitty, touched her hair softly when speaking to him, and praised him for everything. "Chitty, you're such a responsible man. Chitty, you treat Kayamika so well. Chitty, any woman would be blessed to have you." Kayamika didn't notice the tone. She was too busy hiding her bruises. But Chitty noticed, not because he wanted Neoma, but because he could sense her desperation. He smirked sometimes when she wasn't looking. Neoma tried harder, helping him carry small items, sitting near him during conversations, offering to run errands. She even started posting pictures at Kayamika's house, writing captions like, "Marriage is sweet when you marry your best friend." She wasn't referring to Kayamika. She was referring to Chitty. But no matter how hard she tried, Chitty never looked at her with interest. He barely gave her more than polite attention. And that rejection cut deeper than she expected because, in Neoma's mind, she deserved Kayamika's life more than Kayamika did. One evening, after another visit where Chitty barely acknowledged her, Neoma walked home bitterly. Her envy had grown into something heavy, something dangerous. For days she couldn't sleep. She kept imagining herself in Kayamika's clothes, living in that mansion, riding in those cars, being called Madam Chitty. She prayed, she fasted. She even tried subtle flirting. Nothing worked. And finally, she crossed a line she never thought she would cross. She decided to visit an herbalist, a man known in the outskirts of Lagos for performing spiritual works, the kind that bind hearts, break marriages, and rewrite destinies. She walked there with purpose, breath shaky, heart pounding, mind clouded with envy. All she could think about was the life Kayamika lived, the life she believed belonged to her. The herbalist was an old man with calm eyes and a voice that sounded like rustling leaves. He looked at her for a long moment before speaking. Why have you come? Neoma swallowed. Her voice trembled. Yet her desire was stronger than her fear. I want Chitty, she said. I want him to leave his wife and love only me. The herbalist blinked slowly, studying her face. Then he sighed. This kind of work, he said quietly, binds destinies. If I do it, you must never leave him. Even if he hurts you, even if he destroys you, the charm cannot be undone. Neoma felt the warning like a breeze on her skin. Soft, easy to ignore. Her jealousy spoke louder. Do it, she insisted. I'm not afraid. The old man shook his head, almost pitying her. I will not be blamed later. Once I throw the charm into the river, it is gone forever. Your life will be tied to his until death. Neoma nodded eagerly. I accept. And with that, the ritual began. He tied red and black threads together, chanted strange words, and placed Chitty's name inside a small clay pot. He burned herbs that filled the room with thick smoke. Neoma's heart raced as she felt the air shift, something unseen wrapping around her. When the herbalist finished, he wrapped the charm in cloth. It must be thrown into the river tonight, he said. After that, there is no turning back. Neoma watched him walk away with it. She felt victorious. She had no idea she was sealing her own fate. The spell takes hold. Things changed quickly, almost overnight. Chitty became distant with Kayamika, cold, irritable, unexplainably angry. He stopped sleeping in their bedroom. He stopped coming home. He stopped pretending to love her. One morning, without warning, he told her, Kayamika, leave my house. Just like that. Kayamika froze, confused, trembling. What? What did I do? He didn't answer. He simply dragged her bags outside and shut the door in her face. Kayamika cried the entire way to her mother's place, humiliated, broken, and still too ashamed to explain the truth of her marriage. Meanwhile, Neoma waited breathless for Chitty to call her. And he did not with affection, not with warmth, just with a strange, unsettling urgency. Come to my house. Neoma believed the charm had worked perfectly. She dressed in her best gown, applied her makeup, and duplicated Kayamika's soft smile as she walked in. But the house felt cold. Chitty looked different. His eyes were darker, harder. Still, Neoma was thrilled. She had taken Kayamika's place. Within a week, Chitty married her. She entered the mansion not as a visitor, but as the new Madame Chitty. But the charm did not bring love. The first beating happened before the honeymoon. He smashed her phone because she asked for the Wi-Fi password. When she cried, he hit her again, harder. There were no gifts afterward, only curses, yelling, and threats. Neoma told herself it was stress, that he'd calm down, but he didn't. The beatings came daily, for speaking, for asking questions, even for breathing too loudly. He slapped her in the living room. He punched her in the kitchen. And one afternoon, he dragged her into the compound and beat her in front of the security guard. The charm had bound him to her body, not to her peace, not to her safety, not to her happiness. And the more she tried to resist, the worse he became. One night, shaking, bruised, and terrified, Neoma ran back to the herbalist's shrine. She fell to the floor, crying, Please undo it. I'm begging you. The herbalist looked at her with sad eyes. I warned you. Once it is thrown into the river, it can't be undone. Neoma screamed. She begged. She pulled at her hair. He repeated gently, Unless you can retrieve the charm from the bottom of the river, you are bound to him. Her world collapsed. She walked out of the shrine with bandages around her arms and rib cage, a walking shadow of the woman who once envied her friend's life. And for the first time, she realized she had not stolen Kayamika's blessings. She had stolen Kayamika's suffering. Neoma left the herbalist's shrine broken, trembling, and wrapped in dirty bandages. The Lagos sun felt too bright, the air too heavy, the world too loud. Every step she took sent sharp pain through her ribs. But the pain inside her chest was worse, a gnawing regret that ate her from the inside out. Chitty was no longer a mystery, no longer an obsession, no longer the fantasy she built in her mind. He was a monster, and she had tied herself to him with her own hands. For the first time since the charm was cast, Neoma saw her reflection in a shop window. Swollen lip, bruised cheek, faded eyes. She didn't recognize herself. and she knew exactly where she needed to go. Kayamika had moved back to Surulere, renting a small self-contained room and focusing on her catering business. She had lost weight, but she had regained her peace, a kind of quiet strength that made her look more beautiful than any gold jewelry Chitty ever bought her. Neoma took a bike to Kayamika's area. People stared at her wounds, but she didn't care. Her heart was heavier than her body. When she reached Kayamika's door, she collapsed to her knees. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Kayamika, please open." Kayamika came out with a bowl in her hand, startled by the sight before her. Neoma lifted her tear-streaked face. "Kayamika, please. I'm sorry. I destroyed everything. I took your husband. I wanted your life." She broke into sobs. "I did charms. I forced everything. And now I'm dying inside. Please forgive me." Kayamika froze. This was the same woman who stood as her sister for years. The same woman who betrayed her. The same woman who stole her home. The same woman who laughed behind her. And now she was kneeling, broken, bleeding, bandaged like a wounded animal. Kayamika set the bowl aside and helped her stand. She didn't hug her, but she didn't push her away either. Neoma cried into her palms. "He beats me every day, even outside, even in front of people. I tried to run. I tried to break the charm. The herbalist said I can't." Kayamika inhaled deeply. After a long pause, she said softly, "Neoma, I forgive you." Neoma sobbed harder, collapsing against the wall. "But," Kayamika continued, "I forgive you. But we can never be friends again." Neoma's crying stopped. Her heart plummeted. Kayamika wiped her hands on her wrapper. "You broke something that cannot be repaired. I can't walk with you the way we used to, but I won't hold your sin against you anymore." It was the kind of forgiveness that carried peace, but also finality. Kayamika walked back inside her room. She didn't look back. And Neoma, standing outside the door, realized she had lost the one thing she truly had, the only person who ever loved her sincerely. She returned to Chitty's house because she had no choice. The charm pulled at her chest like a chain. If she tried to leave again, she felt sharp pain gripping her heart, warning her that death was near. So, she went back to the same mansion she once admired. The front door was wide open. Music was blasting. Laughter echoed through the hallway. Chitty was hosting another party. Women in short dresses danced around him. Friends smoked, drank, and played loud games. When he saw her standing there, bruised, bandaged, drained, he didn't pause. He didn't ask where she had gone. He didn't care. He simply pointed to the kitchen. "Go and serve my guests." And like a prisoner, she obeyed. She carried trays of food with shaking hands. She poured drinks while men whispered, "Is this not Madam Chitty? Why she day look like this?" Some laughed, some pitied her. No one helped. Chitty openly groped other women in front of her. He pulled one into the bedroom while music played on. Neoma kept serving wine, tears dripping silently onto the tray. When she accidentally dropped a glass, Chitty descended on her right there, slapping her so hard she fell on her knees. The guests watched. No one moved. The herbalist's words replayed in her mind. "If you try to leave him, you will die." And in that moment, she understood. She was no longer a wife, no longer a rival, no longer a friend. She was a prisoner in a golden mansion, punished by the very life she once envied. Later that night, as the party died down and Neoma cleaned the mess with trembling hands, she stared at the broken bottle on the floor. Her tears fell into the scattered glass. The life she wanted, the husband she coveted, the marriage she stole had become her curse. And for the rest of her days, Neoma would live with the consequences of a choice made in jealousy. A choice she could never undo. She no longer hoped for rescue. She no longer wished for escape. She no longer prayed for love. She simply survived breath by breath, day by day, trapped in a marriage that glittered from far away but bled her dry up close. This was her destiny now. A destiny she chose. A destiny she could never undo. And somewhere in Lagos, Kayamika continued growing, healing, and rebuilding her life. A quiet reminder that peace is the true luxury, and jealousy is a debt that always gets paid in full. Outro message. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to reflect. How many times have we admired someone else's life without knowing what they're truly going through behind closed doors? Not every smile is happiness. Not every luxury means peace. And not every perfect couple is truly in love. Thank you so much, besties. We are almost at 10K subscribers, and I honestly can't believe how fast we've grown. Every like, every comment, every share, it all means the world to me. To my returning viewers, thank you for standing with me, supporting my stories, and making this channel feel like home. And to everyone watching who hasn't subscribed yet, please take a second to hit that subscribe button and join the family. It helps the channel grow, and it encourages me to keep bringing you more emotional, powerful African stories every single week. Let's hit 10K together. I love you all, and I'm grateful for every one of you. See you in my next story. Bye for now.